war. In terms of Canadian soldiers, 71 Canadian soldiers have died so far. And if we continue at this pace of 30 Canadian soldiers dying a year, give or take, and if we stay until 2011, with the Harper government prescribed, there will be another 120 Canadian soldiers dead. If we stay until 2017, there will be another 300 Canadian soldiers dead. And we must be sensitive to the plight of Afghan civilians. No one is counting how many Afghan civilians died. By reasonable estimates, in this year alone, 5,000 Afghan civilians have died. Because NATO is not able to control Afghanistan with ground forces, they have been set to rely on airstrikes. And airstrikes have killed thousands upon thousands of innocent civilians. And this all begs the question, why are we in Afghanistan in the first place? Well, there's a lot of disturbing things about this. Many scholars suggest that it is for the West to gain a geopolitical advantage against the emerging alliance between China, Russia, and Central Asian states such as Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, and others. We live in an energy-starved world where there is a great game between the great powers of this world to gain control of those energy resources. This is playing out in Africa as we speak between China and Western interests for the energy resources there. Turkmenistan, just on the northern border of Afghanistan, holds one of the largest deposits of natural gas in the world. In 2002, in a meeting in the capital of Turkmenistan, the Afghani, Pakistani, and Turkmen and Indian heads of state signed an agreement to build the Trans-Afghanistan pipeline, a pipeline that would be 1.5 meters wide and that would transport 33 billion cubic meters of gas a year. The market value of that is around $7 to $8 billion a year. Also, Kazakhstan has huge hydrocarbon deposits as well as other forms of fuel, precious metals, and so forth. China and Russia have signed, as well as Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, have signed to become parties to two agreements known as the Collective Security Treaty Organization and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, both of which are defensive alliances forming a bloc counter to NATO and want to gain and have strong interests in Central Asia. Russian gas is a political football in Europe. It's how they leverage political power on Europe. And the Trans-Afghan pipeline is a way of subverting Russia's control of that gas and their energy domination over Europe. We run in danger in our era of a new Cold War confrontation between our alliance between China, Russia, and their allies, and the U.S. and whoever they ally for. We must avert this impending disaster with huge consequences for humanity, as well as being sensitive to the condition of the people in Afghanistan and helping them in a just way. We need to keep lobbying, rallying, and protesting as much as we can so we can say loud and clear that we no longer want our troops in Afghanistan and that we want a just peace in Afghanistan. It's time for us. Often people say you're speaking to the choir, and that may be true, but I think it's important that the choir sing louder, that we all get out and we all show our disagreement with the policies of this government, and that we do not want Canada involved in this unjust war for unjust reasons in a land far away that we have no real interest in, save for the economic security and social justice for the people of Afghanistan. And with that, I'll turn it over to someone else. Tracy has the speakers list. Here's Tracy. Next we have Jack Gegenberg.
The Jews for just peace. We're being dragged into a nightmare world where perpetual war is being waged against jihadists and indeed Muslims in all forms in the Middle East and beyond. In this nightmare world that we're being dragged into, our civil liberties are being curtailed. Dissent is being repressed in the face of this alleged jihadist threat. But perhaps worst of all, and most nightmarish of all about this world that we see coming into form around us, is that as our freedoms are being repressed, as our dissent is less able to be heard, the corporations in this world, the large corporations, are being increasingly allowed. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is this better?
Yeah.
Sorry. These large corporations are being allowed to roam unrestrained all over the world, in particular in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And they have their own, at their disposal, they have huge private armies and security forces. This war in Afghanistan, this nightmare, is just the beginning. The prelude to this nightmare was the Israeli occupation of Palestine, which has been ongoing since at least 1967 and perhaps even earlier than that. And justifying the Israeli occupation of Palestine, there has always been a media and government position, a media and government line, which has always been out there, and it's been very difficult to dissent from that line. This line says that Israel is a democratic Western refuge in a sea of murderous Oriental, that is Arab and Muslim barbarism and otherness. The people of the states surrounding Israel are demonized as terrorists, fundamentalists, giving Israel the justification for them to undertake the kinds of brutal occupation tactics that they have resorted to in Palestine and Gaza Strip. And now, just as in the Israel-Palestine situation, the media is cheerleading the war in Afghanistan. They're asking us to buy this war without providing us with much justification. The justification that they try to give us is